Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. We are with Tracy Lamourie here from Canada, and she's a high profile, international award winning publicist, the founder and managing director of Lamourie Media Incorporated, and she's got several other awards that she has received for her work. She's also the author of the upcoming book, Get Repped, Build Your Brand with Effective Public and Media Relations. So let's welcome Tracy and we'll get started. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi there. Very thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm the bio says I'm an international award-winning publicist working across borders and across industries, which is true. And I am the author of an upcoming book called Get Repped, Build Your Brand with Effective Public and Media Relations. And my whole career, which is hugely successful, is actually Plan B. I didn't actually have because my Plan A was just following along what I fell into, like you said, which was at that time entry-level sales and marketing in my 20s. But I had an activist life and an advocate life, and I learned skills in that advocacy and activist life to try to get the message out about things I cared about. I actually became incredibly skilled and strategic at messaging, and then it took me a few years to figure that out. And when I thought of my Plan B being a publicist, there's been no stopping me ever since.
So how long have you been a publicist?
So I wrote my first press release when I was 28, but I wasn't a publicist then. I didn't start calling myself a publicist till 13 years after my first very effective media messaging. So for 13 years, I was a salesperson. In my other life, I was doing really effective media messaging, but never would have called myself a publicist. I put my shingle out and started calling myself a publicist for pay 10 years ago, literally 9 years ago. So it'll just be 10 years at the end of this year. And so I'm pretty proud to say that in that time, I didn't go to school for this. In that time, I've developed literally a global reputation and international clientele. And so you can just do it. You can make your your Plan B work.
Awesome. So let's talk about your life as an activist. So what were you going after? What was that? What was your motive there in terms of
So I
what
was
you
always
did?
an anti-racist activist, as a young person. And I think from a direct result from that was when I was very young, and obviously still today. But as a direct result from that, as I became older and more aware of, social issues, you know, um, I was, doing stuff like that. And then what actually got me to be well known wasn't something, again, another Plan B, wasn't something I had ever planned. It was actually in the death penalty issue. And again, we were not involved with criminal justice. The death penalty was not something that was even in our mind, but as a direct result, and we learned about the case of Jimmy Dennis, who was a factually innocent man. Since then, he's been released. So now the world knows he was innocent. He's been released for 4 years. He's a R&B artist now, making, amazing music and changing the world on his own. But back then, he was in prison. He was wrongfully convicted, and we found out about it. It was not a case that was getting a lot of attention, and for some reason that I still don't understand, really, my husband and myself thought, well, how innocent can this guy be? And we decided to. In those days, you had to write. We wrote and we asked for information. He sent us back, 28 pages, both sides, all kinds of detail. That was galvanizing and distressing. And we were 28. We were not publicists. We certainly weren't lawyers. We had no way to help. But for some reason, we had made that outreach. So what do you do when you get back a 28-page letter from a desperate person thanking you and needing help? Just say, oh, well, that was a good read. So we had to do something. And so the only thing we could think of to do was it was the early days of the internet. So my husband learned how to make a website, and I literally learned how to write a press release on the Alta Vista, precursor to Google. Literally, for immediate release, one pager, and that's what I learned to do when I was 28. And we had really effective messaging, which I learned later. I mean, I couldn't have done it better now as a publicist. It was very good, very strategic. We got not only information about the case study, but we ourselves started talking about the greater issue. And as young activists with no legal history and no media history, we were on CNN, MSNBC, Court TV, CNN, being interviewed by Dan Abrams, Catherine Pryor, Nancy Gray, all the big, and it wasn't until 13 years later that I thought, hey, you know what? I'm really good at that. I could utilize, because I wasn't motivated. I wasn't thinking about making that a business. I was just thinking about the messaging and getting it out there, and that worked. It was really good. And it worked so well that ultimately, lawyers got involved and everybody. And then ultimately, he was, after all their hard work and everything, he was freed. But also that getting our messaging got us and all that media. So anyway, I had a light bulb moment at 41. That literally went, huh, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to make 17 calls an hour for something I don't care about anymore. I know, like I just literally, I wish I remembered what I was thinking about the moment before that, but I very clearly remember having that light bulb moment that, wait a minute, wait a minute, don't they call that a publicist? That's a, hey. And from that moment, I literally was like, okay, I guess I'm a publicist, because I had a string of history. I mean, I've not just all those TV appearances, but I'd gotten us on the cover of, like just stuff that activist states I couldn't believe we were able to do, because we were just doing it, thinking about strategic, newsworthy, what I understand now, ways to make things newsworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it finally hit me, and then, I haven't looked back since. I put out a shingle and started doing it, not just for activist stuff, but for entrepreneur. Like right now, about 40% of my work is either celebrities or authors or public speakers or movie people or whatever. And the other 60% is entrepreneurs, executives, but especially entrepreneurs, because corporate is not that fun to work with. It's all about board. They want to have 50 meetings about every messaging. But when you have an entrepreneur, an individual person who's trying to build something, who's got a dream, they have a why, you know what I mean? They're doing it for a reason. They have thought of this for a reason. They have a story. There's so many stories there. So my job is to elevate them, to find that story, to help them tell their story. So basically, I say I create stars and thought leaders. We help people come into their own and show the world what they do, what they can do, basically.
Awesome. So this, this activism campaign that you mentioned, it went on for what, 20 years?
Yeah. He was in prison for 25 years. We got involved 7 years in, from 1998, and then he was ultimately released in 2017. So this was, we were, and then you look back and like, how do you keep together on anything for 20 years? A
Mm-hmm.
long time. But I credit that to him. He kept us focused in terms of, believing that we could get out there. And that's, can you imagine being in prison for 25 years and dealing with that and having all
Wow.
that, but we all, I'm just so grateful that we all did, the team, because now we have this, I can't imagine it might have gone a different way. Because, one day, like, he's such a gift to the world, that person, my husband and I talk to him all the time. Every day he's recording artist now, but way beyond that, he's doing justice work, helping to free other people. And after, I feel like, wow, we could have, it's an honor, basically. It's it's an honor to have been involved in any part of that story. And I have to say, when people talk with it always sounds like, oh, good for you, like you're a hero. And I always want to dial that back, because I'm not. We're all the same. Why did I do that for 20 years? Why don't other people do that? I don't think it's because I'm better or kinder. I think it's because I felt empowered, just like I do with a lot of things. I learned very young that I can make a difference. You know what I mean? Most people, I think, don't make moves like that for the same reason they maybe want to start a company, but they don't start a company. Or even they want to write a book, or they don't write a book. Or they even want to go on a worldwide trip and they never do it, because they just don't take the first step, or they don't feel capable of it. And I've never paid attention to that. I always say, I don't like to quote Nike, just do it. And I really hate that, fake it till you make it. I hate that. But what I do like is, I quote the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I get what they're trying to say with fake it till you make it. But I think much better than that is Rocky Horror Picture Show. In the song, you never heard that in a business meeting before, but don't dream it, be it, is a line
Awesome.
from the song. And that is like, because it's saying the same thing as they're trying to say with, don't fake it till you make it, or whatever. They're saying do something, don't wait, right? But no, you're not faking it, you're doing it. If you conceive of it and strategize, and then you just take the first step, and then you realize, hey, look where I am now. Hey, I guess I'm in the game, and then you get that confidence to keep going. And so, don't let them tell you that, people thought we were nuts. I'm sure they didn't say it, but I'm sure they thought we were nuts with this death row thing. Like, what do you do? Oh, David Tracy and their death row thing. Well, yeah, until the day that man was released. Now we're heroes. Well, for 19 years we were crazy. So you have to believe in yourself and what you're doing, and then you just do it.
So the services that you provide, under your company banner, can you talk us through those?
Yeah, so absolutely. Again, basically elevating and celebrating what people are doing. So no matter what it is that you're doing, I make the world sit up and pay attention to it. So people are often surprised when you talk about the client base because again, they expect politicians and movie stars and all that. And again, those, I don't like the politician action anymore. I used to, but now I don't. But movies and film and all that, sure. But other than that, if I look at my clients here, I have a luxury real estate agent. I have a stylist because we've been working together for 2 years. Now they're a celebrity stylist. Before that, they had this or that little thing. And then we build them up to the point where they're being quoted globally. Now they are the celebrity stylist. What you do, it's not even about celebrity. Maybe the thought leadership phrase is better, but it's about literally letting the world know that what you do. So that's what I find ways to do that. I find ways to get my client, number one, the old standard press releases and all that, get media attention. I monitor also the media landscape, incoming media landscape, all these different sources from like the sources like Podmatch and Matchmaker and podcast matchup services that match up, my clients with, or me with people who might want to interview us for my clients. In that same way, there's media, mainstream media, where a reporter from Oprah.com or a reporter from Reader's Digest who's on deadline for Tuesday at 6 and has to speak to whatever. So I'm monitoring all of those incoming opportunities for my clients. I'm looking and reaching out for opportunities. I'm researching till 3 in the morning on a global level to find if there's awards my clients might qualify for. If there's so literally, I'm always looking for ways to make them to show the world that they're stars. Everybody I take on, I consider a star. Whether they're a celebrity or whether they're I mean, they may not consider themselves a star. They're awesome in their field. They're leaders. They may not have done any media. And so it's my job to show, elevate. They're not even elevate because they're publicly elevating, but they're already doing this amazing stuff. And I'm showing what they're doing. So basically, it's a way of thinking of PR is like a cousin of marketing. Every entrepreneur knows about marketing, they know about advertising. But the PR component is related, but it's different. The thinking that you need to access media in the newsroom is completely different from the advertorial mindset that entrepreneurs are used to. So I do a lot of teaching as well these days about the difference between editorial versus entrepreneurial, or sorry, editorial versus advertorial, because advertorial is what we're used to talking about our product, but the advertorial will keep you out of the newsroom. So you have to get your head around how to be a source, an expert source, without trying to sell your product.
And where are your clients mostly from?
In terms of location,
Yeah.
literally all over the world. Even when I started, I had more clients in Los Angeles than I did in Canada. I have, clients in Canada, I have clients in Los Angeles. One of the Africa's biggest television stars is my client. She's in Ghana. I have a client that just hired me this morning who is in the Netherlands. So I'm literally right across around the world. Anywhere in the English speaking, like anywhere where there's English speaking media, or any client who wants to get into English speaking media. Because no matter where you are, I will, work on your local media. But I also recommend, no matter, even if you're a real estate agent in Ottawa and you never have other international clients, right? Building your brand on a global level, it builds, it differentiates you from your competitors on the local level. When you put that on your website, it differentiates you from your competitors. It attracts customers. It excites existing customers. Oh my God, look at my publicist is on TV, my stylist is there, and they share that, and it builds that excitement. And then also one component that entrepreneurs should understand, especially if they're looking at startups. I had one client say to me who was in the funding, route, right? She was I just passed their pre-seed funding and we're going for their funding. And she said, after 6 weeks of working together, you've changed my business and my life. And like I always say, I get a lot of accolades, but that's a lot of big ones. So I'm like, well, whoa, what do you mean? And she said, you've made investors take us more seriously. And that's key right there. Because when you think about it as an investor ready to drop or not drop a whole bunch of money on a company, what do they have? They look at the deck. Everybody has a pretty deck. Then they go to the internet and they're searching to see who these individuals are. And they'll see all your CV, your LinkedIn, all that stuff. But imagine the difference if they also, as they're determining which company to give money to, then they also just went up and there's 5 articles talking to you about how you're an innovator in your space, and the industry magazines talking about this award you won, and then, well, boom, right? And that's the exact same client who like they do the same thing, but media doesn't know if you don't tell them, if you don't find ways to reach this out. So that third party credibility is super important in so many different ways. It's social cred, they call it, or whatever they call it these days.
Absolutely. So you've been doing this for years now, right? Are there any fun stories you'd like to share?
Oh, there's so many stories. I don't know. I don't even know where to start. But I mean, there's just it would have to be more. Is it about a funny media thing I got in, or a way I got to be in media, or where? I think the funnest thing it was a funny story, but a fun story is the fact that after all this, and you've heard my origin story and how I'm just a crazy activist. I never went to school for this. I should never have been able to access. Well, now my life, other than COVID, take COVID out of it, is literally VIP, like normal in a normal year is VIP parties and travel. Also, a lot of sitting up till 4 a.m. researching and finding stuff for my clients, and a lot of boring desk work that nobody sees. But also, there's the celebrities and the parties and the VIP and the travel and the palm trees and all that. And like I never should have been able to access all that. How did that happen? In 2019, I had 9 business trips, 8 countries. No, wait, eight, eight, 9 business trips with 8 different clients, 5 countries on 4 continents. I didn't pay for anything except for the flight to Vegas at the very end. So like I literally saw the world from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, from the all for work. Like supposedly so like that can happen. And but I mean, if I planned to do that, like I don't even know how I would have built that trajectory. Like it just literally happened for me. My plan B was because it came my plan B. I saw my plan B suddenly. I was just doing plan A, plan A, plan A. It took a long time before I suddenly saw that plan B was sitting right in front of me the whole time. And then it hit me like a light bulb moment. I'm like, oh, so the lesson is you probably didn't free an innocent man from death row, but everybody has something, that they're passionate about, whether it's a hobby or cause or an issue or whatever, and they feel like their day job, you're not supposed to really like, you just have to get through your day job to get to the stuff you really like. But the really truth of the matter is, even if you like sports and you're never going to be an athlete, there's a million jobs around sports, in sports, that you could probably do and love your life. So just really think about like, taking that's my lessons. Man, why didn't I do this so much earlier? Why did I think, you know what I mean? Like, why did I not think earlier? I'm smart, I'm strategic. Why did I keep on doing these stupid sales jobs while I had this brilliant like skills? Oh, because I was not I wasn't my day job. But we need to start thinking about what we can do and what our skill set is and go beyond what they told you can do.
So tell us about your book and when did that come into being?
So that was the impetus for that started several years ago when I worked with one of my first clients, Lou Bayer, who's now the CEO of Propriety Publishing, as well as her original thing was Civility Experts. And I had helped her. She had a book called The 30% Solution, and she hired me as a freelancer to help build that business book. And it became a business bestseller. And it's basically about how civility in the workplace affects your bottom line financially up to 30%. So in terms of customer retention and employee retention and training and all that stuff. So we made that book a business bestseller. And after that, she was just like, she decided to move away from the publishing company she was with and start self-publishing several years ago, not on Amazon, but like, create her own publishing company. So she did that. And then she had a few other people. She decided to publish for other people in soft sales or soft skills kind of stuff. And then about a year after that, she came to me and she said, you know what, will you write the book? Literally write the book on PR, because of the fact that we had made her business books and other business books that she was promoting bestsellers. She's like, PR is like a soft skill, meaning soft skills and communications and all that. And her publishing company focuses on soft skills. So she asked me to write the book, and so I'm writing the book. So yeah, it's taken a while because I'm so busy doing the PR that I wasn't stopping to write about the PR. But then in COVID, I got a little bit more disciplined on that, even though I'm still super busy. I actually put into my schedule an hour here to write, an hour to write. So now, yeah, get wrapped, build your brand with effective public and media relations. And it's the same, a lot of it's talking about the same kind of things I talk about in all these podcasts, editorial versus advertorial, explaining to entrepreneurs why they need to think about this, also what they can do on their own, what they need a publicist for, different things like that. And also there's a part in the end that talks to marketing and salespeople about, would this be something you would want to consider? And I put that in because I just love this so much. And I'm so sad that I could have spent my whole life just, being in somebody's marketing department, never realizing this. But yet the skills that I had, were very translatable to this with a little bit of figuring it out, and nobody even taught me. So I also have that inspirational bit of the end, like, do you think you could do this? You probably could, and you might love it. So you don't have to go to school for 5 years. Just do this, this, and this. Build your reputation.
How do people, that work with you, how do you work with them in terms of measuring their return on investment?
So for me, so it's a bit different than marketing in that sense. For me, like it's not, I always say at the beginning, it's not my like, well, inevitably this work is going to get more people to see it, so it's going to improve your sales or your book sales or whatever, right? But unlike a marketing department, that's not my job, and I really don't care, to put it bluntly, because what I care about is I'm building your, like, it's not my job about your sales. That's your job. My job is to build your authority, build your credibility so that whatever comes out of your mouth is taken seriously, whether that's when you're selling a book, whether it's when if you're an executive or, an entrepreneur that wants to build, have investors taken seriously, or whether you are an executive guy that wants a corner office, maybe, 'cause wherever you are today it might be the book, the corner office, the job, but we're building your lifetime, we're building your thought leadership, so it's, to me, success is that media attention. Like, so at the very beginning, I'm not promising you're going to get a million sales. I'm not promising, you may or may not. I don't even know. I have my clients, they with me 3 years, they renew every single week. So clearly they're getting, a good ROI out of it every month. But I've never asked them, have you got more book sales? Did you get more clients since you hired me? I never even asked, because to me, the success is like, is that okay? Here's the Oprah. That's the success. And then my job is to build on that, to add that to your profile, to add that to your bio, to get you the speaking. So when you come to me, you have to have your frame of mind is like, the success is developing me as a thought leader, and that will help sell my book, that will help sell my product or whatever. But in the same time, it will also do so much more that you can't just be looking at that. You know what I mean? It's not just, whereas marketing, you're targeting, we want them to, I know marketing and sales are even different. People confuse marketing with sales, right? But I mean, they're a lot closer, marketing and sales, than sales and PR. I
So
don't know if
when,
it's a convoluted answer, but
no, I think it does help. But when do you believe is the right time for somebody to even start thinking seriously about getting a publicist? At what point of their journey or at what point of whatever career path they've chosen?
so that's a really good question. I answer that when a lot of times people think, you know, so if you have a book, even in the case of a book, I say there's no wrong time, because again, it's about building your reputation. If your goal is to sell a book and you're only going to do PR for like 3 months, then obviously you would time your PR, somewhere in there. Like, I would say before the book comes out, because it just depends what you're looking for. Because if you want book reviews, for example, you hire the publicist before the book comes out, so you can pitch it to all the review places that want it before it's published, right? And same with developing, even though the author might be like, well, why would I want to get any articles until I have the book? Because they're thinking I want the article to link to the book, or so people can go right to buy the book, right? A direct action, which is good. But again, from my perspective, that's a secondary thing. The first thing is, I want, when the book comes out, you to already be an expert. I would like to already send you in all these things previous, saying, author of the upcoming book, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to be talking about, not the book, but the issues and the subjects and that around. So we're developing your thought leader. So for me, it depends. I can work at any time, basically. So you can hire, the publicist right at the top, like you would place the first ad. Like, think about a priority, because basically, if you think about it as the publicist putting that gravitas behind you, so that everybody, when you open your mouth, has that respect and seriousness and elevation, then really there's no bad time. So it can be strategic, before a launch, before a book, before whatever. But I say, to me, any expert that comes to me, if you're an expert, I'm like, you should be talking to media about it. You should, every single day there's opportunities. You may decide, like, in terms of the press release, when are you going to have a message that you're going to want to put out? Remember, I also spoke about all the incoming opportunities for experts of all kinds to just respond to, those, and then you start building those blocks, and, no matter what you're doing as your ultimate goal, that's gold. So really, it's, when do you start, like, to me, it's, when do you start developing right now? Like, whenever we all have reputations right now, especially on the internet, whether you're developing your reputation or not, you're posting things, you're linking things, people are coming to a conclusion about you, or they're just thinking, oh, that's nothing what you see there. So you already have those platforms. Why would it be bad to start building, positivity and leadership on it?
So your book, what can readers take away from it, and where do they find it?
So I hope they learn all of this stuff. I hope they come out of it going, oh my goodness, that's something I've been completely missing. And also, I hope they learn that from these podcasts as well, because just one line, 80 to 90% of entrepreneurs have no conception or aren't thinking about PR and media, but there is not one corporation, big corporation in the world, not one, that doesn't have a PR/ communications department. So right there, that shows you that entrepreneurs were not thinking about this, are just not on an equal footing, and they could be. They could actually punch way above their weight with a little bit of media. So yeah, you should learn. That's what I hope you guys learn from this, from the book, and you'll be able to find it on proprietypublishing.com, on Amazon.com, and I'm hoping in bookstores, but we'll know that soon. And that should be probably by the end of August. I'm hoping that it's going to be published.
And then, as far as people that are looking to reach out to learn more about your services or perhaps to work with you, what's the best way to reach you?
So you can reach me at lamouriemedia.com. That's Lamourie media.com. Instagram, Tracy Lamourie PR Media. LinkedIn is a great place to connect. Tracy Lamourie. Old Technology, you can reach me. Toronto number is 289-788-5881. Number in Beverly Hills is 424-444-8052. And right now, both of those are coming through to me in Canada, because I'm seeing out COVID on this side of the border, though I should be back in California by October.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I think it's been a pleasure hosting you and learning about you, as well as your company and the services that you provide. You've been on a fascinating journey yourself, being an activist and then turning into a PR specialist.
Story. Yeah. Thank you. It's been a whole lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Before I let you go, I'd like you to share one takeaway with the listeners, anything that comes to mind.
Okay, I usually end with a phrase, a little like I want to quite calmly, because I think it's important. A lot of people are not feeling successful, and they should be, because they're made it through all these times. So whether you're feeling on top of the world right now and you still have goals, or you felt like jumping off a bridge yesterday, and you're standing here listening to this, rolling your eyes and it's success, either way, I love this, you guys, you didn't get this far to only get this far. So if you're successful and you've been rocking it and kicking it and you got goals, you can reach the top of the mountain. You can get that Grammy, like I say to Jimmy Dennis, you can get, you can reach that goal. But even more importantly, if things have not been going well, if, the world just seems rough and everybody's an ass, and it's been hard and people are trying to take you down, and whatever it is that you feel, you got through it all, though, right? Like if you're listening to this today, you got through all that, you're still standing, you beat all that. And this world is a hard place sometimes. If you beat it all, you are absolutely a winner, no matter how you feel right now. So, you didn't get this far, you didn't get through all that. You didn't get through all the, all that to let the world get you down. So you didn't get this far to only get this far, but like to away.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you.
Wish you the very best as you make progress.
Thank you so much, Ajit.